It might seem a little bit parental advisory, but you know what? Who fucking cares?
This is
So,
not a PG-13 podcast.
no. So if you're PG-13 person, get the fuck out.
Yeah, I think you should start with that.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to an exciting episode of the Everything Horror Podcast. I'm your host tonight, Paul Doski, with my lovely fiance,
Tessa Baker.
and we got a special guest. And right now, she is in the future. So by the time you hear this, it's gonna be the future for her. So I mean, she's gonna know stuff more than we will by the time this even comes out. I think, because it's space travel.
Oh, Jesus.
Hey, you gotta have fun with this one. Anyways, you might know her from her gorgeous, incredible artwork that she has done, and maybe even know her from her band that she started. But anyways, without further ado, here is Avelina De Moray.
Hey, how you guys going? Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you so much.
Of course, it's a pleasure.
Oh,
Big pleasure, because I think it was like a couple years, maybe 2 years or so ago. I don't even remember now where I tried reaching out.
Let's not.
And
Yeah.
it's definitely a great pleasure to finally have you on our show, especially
Oh,
for
thank you.
Women in Horror Month. Oh man, here we go. More coffee. Anyway, Avelina, if you wouldn't mind, for people that don't know you as well as I kind of know you, because we've talked quite a few times, but could you give a little origin story of how you got into horror and who you are?
Cool. Okay. Well, hey, I'm Avelina. So I'm from Sydney, Australia. If you can't tell that from the accent, apparently I have one, or it might be you guys. Haven't figured that out yet. Horror. Always had a love for horror. It didn't start at a young age, you know. That kind of sucks because I love reading stories about people and they're like, yeah, I watched my first horror movie at like 6. And I'm like, fuck, my childhood was pretty sheltered. So it's like I dove into it quite quickly as an adolescent, probably because it was so suppressed in my childhood. I was a bit of a loner at school. It wasn't really until I discovered like rock and roll music and started playing the guitar, and that's where the songwriting came in. That my fascination and love for music came out, and then the love for horror and vampires. I think the first vampire movie I ever saw was Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula, and I just fell in love. I don't think I realized why I fell in love at that point because I wasn't doing artwork until maybe early 20s, vampire art. But yeah, it was the cinematography that got me, just the colors, and like that was a very special movie for me and has inspired a lot of my future artworks. Immortality, vampires, superhuman powers. What's not to like, man? I think it's just like where I grew up was pretty fucking boring, you know? Australia's an island, there wasn't much going on. When you discover that shit, it's about escapism, you know? Life is boring. And it's just about delving into that and like saying, yeah, fuck, I really like this. How I can buy posters and put them up on my walls, but why don't I try making this art myself? And yeah, so very, very hands-on, all self-taught up until recently, but we'll talk about that later. But yeah, just it kind of grew. It grew from a adoration to changing into going into Photoshop and learning Photoshop and buying cameras and just saying, hey, I can do this. Why don't I try to actually create this shit myself? And it kind of happens on multiple levels. So it happens musically, it happens visually. More recently, designing handbags and doing collaborations with artists. So I'm always designing. My problem is I have too many ideas in my head and I can't act on all of them because I would be poor. But yeah, I do act on a lot of my creativity and try to get out as much as possible. And I just seem to be in love with darkness in general, and anything that's kind of creepy has got me hooked, you know?
Fair enough.
Very nice.
Yeah.
All that and I get fair enough.
You get fair enough from Paul, and you get very nice from me. So.
Okay.
Well,
I do have to say this. I've seen your artwork, and I have to say it's absolutely stunning.
Oh, thank you.
I think it's lovely. And Paul, one of the first images of your art that Paul showed me was your Elizabeth Bathory one, and I was just oh wow. I was like, she has like such a way of capturing it. It's like it wants to like come off the pages at you. Very gripping.
Yeah, I like that. I like emotion. I like being in a few of my artworks myself because sometimes, you just can't get what you want out of the model, and it comes back to like the idea of being in my head and the direction of it. Sometimes it's tricky to work with other people, and it's easy to just say, "Oh, fuck it, I'll do it myself." But a lot of the girls I've worked with have been fantastic, and they needed a bit of coaxing. Like it's not a normal shoot when I do photo shoots. I'm like, okay, get half naked and pretend you're a model, and give me a sexy vampire look, and just pretend you've bitten someone. And they go, what? So they're a lot of fun.
yeah, I believe the first time I saw your work was when you did the contest for. Oh man, I don't remember the name of your artwork right now, but it's the one that you did a giveaway for with Danny Filth. It was
Yeah, that would be empathy. Yeah.
yes, that one.
Yeah.
So that's what got me into your artwork. Because after I saw that, I of course had to find out who you were. Because I was like, oh, I wonder what else she made, and then that's when I found your lovely, beautiful vampire stuff, and I'm just like, holy crap! Like this is really good, and
Yeah.
it's something I still need to get from you too, because I keep telling myself I need to get something from Avelina on
Yeah.
my wall.
Yeah, and you know what? They look great large. They look great on the computer screen too, but like I love printing them really big and then framing them, and it's the detail. There's a lot of little things that I think are kind of missed in when you're viewing it on a laptop screen, and yeah, it's always fun to put artworks on different medias and clothing, things like that.
Yeah, you did release two of your artworks on the PlayStation Network as a theme, and I got two of them, I believe.
Cool.
I got the one where I think it's you actually. I think you're like licking this sword with your tongue or somebody's tongue, and it's like a bluish, like a really bluish color.
Yes, I know that one. It's I can't remember what I called it. I think I stopped naming them because I'm like, oh, it's so difficult to come up with cool names because I was doing so many artworks that I probably just started numbering them. But the artwork you were speaking of was inspired by a fight scene in Underworld 3, hence the blue kind of tones, and there was a sword fight with horses. I forget the girl's name, but yeah, she ended up dying, but a lot of blood and licking. I'm like, oh yeah, I like that. Let's go there. And
Yeah, and then what's the other one? Yeah, I want to say it was the one with you and a model. Um, I
was I
believe.
lying on top of her and we're kind of biting each other?
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Yeah, that's I think I love death and what lies beneath. That's one
That's
of my favorite artworks. Like I'm a big sucker for fluoro green and black. I love my fluoro green and black. But I don't know, from a sale point like Vampires of Rookwood, which is like, a more traditional vampire artwork, I guess, you got the boobs and the blood and the girl snarling. That's been by far my most successful artwork in regards to sales on canvases and people that have wanted to like license it for posters and stuff. But yeah, little old Love, Death and What Lies Beneath hasn't Hasn't been as popular, but fuck them. I love it.
That's the spirit and the attitude for sure. So the first question, Avelina, is what inspired the creativity of photographing the vampire artwork, which I think you kind of mentioned a little bit, but if you could elaborate on it a little bit more.
It was probably just from watching so many movies. Like, you know, every night we'd come home with DVDs, you know, that aren't around anymore because the digital world is taking over. But, you know, us old folks or older folks used to get the movie on an actual disc and enjoy looking at the artwork and, you know, just watching the entire Underworld series and Blade and then True Blood coming out. And there was 10 years ago, vampires were kind of everywhere. And then True Blood, not True Blood. I didn't mean that. I mean, Twilight kind of put a different play on it. There's just so much vampires in the media, and it was great because that was at the time when I was like really enjoying them as well. And I guess when you start seeing that much imagery, like my brain, the cogs in my brain started kind of turning, and I'm like, you know what? I was doing band photography at the time, hence the collaboration with like Danny Filth and Billy Below from him. And I'm like, well, I enjoy photographing musicians, but why don't I try to do some artwork? And I'm like, well, you know, I can't paint, so I'm going to do digital artwork and give that a go. I'm like, well, what's the subject of my art got to be? And it wasn't really ever a question. It was like, well, I like vampires, I like blood, I like sexy artworks, and I'm like, okay, well, let's do some female vampires doing some vampiric shit. And yeah, the editing, like the post-production, was the thing that really brought my artworks to life because I start with like photography, obviously, and then a lot of editing goes on top of the actual photograph. And sometimes I will digitally draw on top of the photo. And something I like about my mixed media artworks is that people sometimes cannot tell what medium it is. I like that. They're like, is that drawn? Or is that a photo? I'm like, I don't know, you tell me. It's a bit of both. It's a bit of both, but it just seemed to make sense. I'm like, I'm not going to do fruit bowls or, you know, anything like that. So it was just a continuation of what I was really into at the time. You know, I still really like vampires, still into horror. Yeah, kind of stopped doing the artwork. Had a couple of kids and that has slowed things down, but I'm still designing and just doing different stuff, but it's still dark. Everything I do is dark and quite evil. A wee bit scary.
Did you take any photography or photo editing classes to kind of heighten your work, Avelina?
I didn't. I probably should have. I don't know if it's just because I'm fucking stubborn or I'm hard to work with other people. The idea of coming out of high school and going to university wasn't for me. If my parents had forced me to do something like that, I probably would have done graphic design. But I was teaching music straight out of high school, so it gave me a lot of free time. So I just kind of bought books because YouTube wasn't around back then. You know, you couldn't go on like you can now to YouTube and go, how the fuck do you do this in Photoshop? So I bought books. I read books on Adobe Photoshop and Premiere. Started with the, you know, Photoshop for fucking idiots books, and soon went up the ranks to the really advanced ones. And it's been a learning like experience over 10 years. You know, it's an extension of my body now. I don't realize how fluent I am with that program. Photography, not so much. Like Photoshop, I can't even remember, honestly. My memory is so bad. I can't remember learning the program. It's been that long. It's just like I know it. So if you ask me to do something in it, I can find a way to do it. It might not be the best way, but that's the beauty about being self-taught. You get the work done. It doesn't matter how you do it, you know. But with photography, more recently, I've been doing a lot of training courses and changed to a mirrorless camera, and I've abandoned Canon just like the other day, and I've switched to Sony. Just yesterday, I did a brand new shoot with a camera. So there's been a lot of changes there, a lot of education going on, because I feel the technology in the last decade, more for photography than Photoshop, has changed a lot. And I'm at the point where I'm like, you know what, I need to to stay competitive, whether it be for artworks, which I've put on hold for a little bit, or just the gothic fashion and collaborations that I've been doing. I'm noticing that other people are getting like higher quality than me. I'm like, well, that's not acceptable. So I recently upgraded everything, and I've had a lot of fun doing courses. It's empowering to expand your knowledge on something that you're already very into. And I find it hard with kids to do as much as I'd like to do, to just stay on top of what I'm doing with social media, run my business, have 2 kids, and then also get in all the training that I'm doing. It's full on. So yes and no. In regards to Photoshop, I have recently been doing like new tutorials and stuff like that. I only need to watch them once. It's not like a beginner doing it, and it takes ages. Where with photography, I kind of just asked my way through it. I learned enough to get myself in trouble, and that can only get you so far. I mean, I got pretty far on not knowing much with photography, but all the technical stuff, like the fusion of aperture and shutter speeds and all the stuff I probably should have known. I was like, I just want to be the director. My husband would set up all the shit, and I'd have no idea what he was doing. So now I can say I actually know how all that shit works. Yeah, this probably comes back to me being impatient. I'm like, ugh, setting up flashes, backlights, blah blah blah. I want to get the creativity. I didn't want to do all the boring shit that goes into it. But yeah, I'm finding myself doing that now because Vaughn has been working more on our music for our band As Angels Bleed. So when we do have free time, he's in the studio. So it's kind of like I can't ask him to be there all the time. So I'm, just doing it myself, and I like them. It's empowering, like I said before, knowing exactly how to use pieces of equipment.
Yeah, I remember back when I was in high school, and I took a class that was for like photography and Photoshop and what is that other program like Dreamweaver and Flash and all other things. And photography wasn't bad to learn, but I did learn that it does take certain cameras to just get that right shot that you want, and otherwise, like you were kind of saying before with Photoshop, like you'll find a way in Photoshop to make it work, but otherwise that's the only other thing you can do really. But yeah, that class is actually what inspired to get my first camera. It was a Kodak one, and then I got a Canyon one. But I really love my my Kodak. Kodak, I mean. But yeah, I remember the struggles and the pain and learning Photoshop, and I'm just like, oh my god, some of this stuff is really, really ridiculously like boring to do to edit this photo, but
yeah,
it's a learning experience for sure.
Definitely. And like my photos now to post to Instagram, they could just look like a normal photo, but there's probably an hour's worth of editing, and that's pretty standard. That's quick for me, and I'm very quick at what I do. But for artworks, like I could spend like easily a week, 8 hours a day, and it's with my Wacom tablet and drawing on top of it, it's very time consuming. It's all worth it in the end, where you step back and you see it printed up on a massive canvas, and you're like, fuck, that's cool.
That is goddamn beautiful.
Exactly, that is goddamn beautiful.
The colors are just so goddamn beautiful that it just pops out at you, like Tessa was saying earlier.
Yeah, it just comes to life off the pages.
That's right.
Yeah, colors are a big thing for me. I'm torn because with my artworks, I like a lot of vibrant colors mixed in with like burnt blacks and burnt sepias and stuff like that. But say on my Instagram profile, I find I can't put the same type of colors on there, and it just looks too random. So I've kind of gone with more of a black and white theme, and like pinpointing. Recently, I've been doing like my skin tone is color, or like pale, to get that goth aesthetic. But everything else is black and white, just kind of gives it more cohesion. And we've got to think about our Instagram feed these days. It's incredibly important. And so it's kind of sad that, like, in that medium, I've had to abandon the color. But at the same time, I think it's yielding a better result for where I'm at now and what I'm doing. And I always found it a bit tricky. Like, I thought my work wasn't goth enough just because of all the colors. If I do like blues, like the one that you mentioned, the blues like in Underworld, that's people go, oh, instantly that's goth. It's like the only color scheme you can do is black and white or blue and black. So I always found my artworks kind of like pop vampire, like a fusion of pop art and vampires. And I don't know, the older I get, I'm like, I want to do it more maturely, more sexuality. And I guess that comes back to the models that I was working with as well. They were quite young, and I see that difference as well, like saying that the look that I get out of myself and like Bathory being a little bit older than some of the girls I work with, it's a bit more kind of convincing in regards to the conviction of the character that I'm trying to play myself, where some of the other girls are a bit like, okay, I'm snarling. Is this right? I'm like, if you have to fucking ask if it's right, probably not the right model for this photo shoot. It's kind of one of those, you've either got that attitude or you don't. So.
Well, speaking of models, it's that's a nice little segue for this question too. But like, how do you search for your model to appear in specific horror designs of yours? And like one other design that I can remember right now too is, I believe it's called like the Exorcism, where where you got that nice color. Oh man, what do I want to call that color? Maybe it's like a
teal.
Yeah.
Oh, blue. I don't know, it's really vibrant. Wow.
Yeah, it's very cool. Like you're gonna say, vibrant color, but it's something about it just pops out about it, and I think it's because of that model did a great job portraying the vampire as the crosses in her.
Yeah. Yeah. So that one you're talking about is called the Exorcism of Lucy Westenra. Obviously, very inspired by the actual scene in Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula, where they've got the crucifix and she's down in a crypt, and my favorite scene in that movie is where she like drops the baby. I fucking love that. And she like shies away from the crucifix. So I don't think it burns in the movie, but that was just a nice little addition that I added, the flaming crucifix. But you're right, there's a lot of conviction in that artwork. The other ones are kind of soft, almost like teen orientated to me, but there's a few, like the one where the girl's licking the sword, that's a different model. The Bathory one, and the one that you're speaking of, it's probably could be my favorite of all time when I really think about it. And the cathedral that I like drew in the background, just it changes it, because we were setting up in just a room and we black out all the walls just with like sheets, and it was just me and the camera. My husband's hand is holding the cross and that girl, and she just really got into it. She was quite young as well, but she was doing acting classes, so maybe that was why it was different. Maybe she did a bit of research. But yeah, there was a lot of conviction in her eyes, and I think that helped tell the story. And then the editing, like on top of that, just makes it a very special piece. And this doesn't make sense unless people go to my website and kind of Google that and have a look at the artwork. It's like, what the fuck are they talking about? But yeah, it's not an easy thing to do. If you're just drawing a banana, you can't really fuck that up. But you can with vampires. I keep coming back to Twilight and saying, look, they fucked up vampires. There's not enough fangs. There's not enough blood. There's not enough sexuality. They held up to like. What was that?
I said those aren't vampires, they're sparkly bitches.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, I love the series, but it was marketed incorrectly. It's a fucking teen romance, and I enjoy the movie as a teen romance. It shouldn't have been marketed as a vampire film. It was like softcore porn. It's like, what's the point? Like, go there. Don't fucking beat around the bush. But yeah, at the same time, I love it. Like, I enjoy it, but was it an inspiration for any kind of, like, creativity? No, it was not.
Yeah, I completely agree. I remember one time I was over at my friend's house, and they put in Twilight, And I'm like, what the fuck is this? He's like, it's Twilight. I'm like, oh God, no. And all I can remember from the movie that I definitely had to make fun of every time I saw my friend after that was, what's that line? Hey, aren't you supposed to be burning? No, I don't burn. I glitter. Or I
Yeah.
sparkle. Oh my God.
I love how you said that too. I glitter. I see the hand thing. Yeah.
Uh, oh man.
Yeah, it's not comparable to like Queen of the Dam or any of Anne Rice's novels or the movie adaptations. Or it's kindergarten vampires, but it has its place.
Oh yeah.
Maybe it's a good transition for like tweens or whatever that are just kind of interested in vampires, and then as they grow up, they'll find the proper shit. Hopefully.
Well, that's funny that you brought up Queen of the Dam and stuff. Now, I don't know if you heard this, but did you hear that Anne Rice is planning on creating a TV series now off her stories?
I've heard something about that floating around. Yeah, it's a kind of like a joining of all of her work though, or is it of one specific novel that she's written?
From what I know, it's gonna be like each season is gonna be part of her part of the books, I think. So
Okay.
like the first season is gonna be about the interview with the vampire. Then I think it's gonna go into I think it would be Vampire What's That. Then third season should be Queen of the Dam, I think. I think
Mm,
her books go.
okay.
It's
I hope they don't wash it down and make it for teens. That would be a disappointment.
definitely not gonna be teen from what I understood, so I hope that's true.
Good. Good. Yeah. I mean, there hasn't been too many cool TV shows that have been made since True Blood, in my opinion. There's one that keeps popping up on Netflix, but I can't even tell you the name of it. I watched about 3 episodes. I'm like, ugh. It's just like Bold and the Beautiful, but they put fangs on these beautiful people that like have no personality at all.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I wish I knew. Let me look it up on Netflix. Keeps popping up.
I know. I know on Shutter
It sounds familiar. I'm just trying to place what she's saying.
Yeah, I know on Shutter you and I started watching that one series based off of the books, which is A Discovery of Witches, which has witches and vampires and all sorts of monsters in it, which is not bad. I don't mind it. And from what I can tell, even though I haven't read the book, even though we have the book, but from what I've read, it sounds like the TV show on Shutter is following the book really good.
Mm.
So
Yeah. It's kind of hard, isn't it, if you've read a novel first and then they adapt it to a movie? You don't really know what you're getting. Some people love it, some people hate it.
I don't want this to walk to
Mama's doing an interview, baby.
transforming
That's my son Steelers walked in. You want to say hi? No?
I just don't want this truck to transform into a robot.
Okay. He wants me to transform his truck into his transformer into a truck. Yeah, it's like my videos, man. There's always like, I try to leave it in now because it's kind of endearing. They'll walk in and they'll be like, "Oh, are you filming, mummy?" And then I'm doing some lipstick swatch kind of videos on YouTube, and still I'm doing the little Jeffree Star lipstick and asking me, "Is this how I swatch, mummy?" And he's putting the lipstick on his beautiful little arm. And that's cute.
Aww.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're trying to figure out that Netflix show or movie that you're speaking of real quick too, because we're like, I'm trying to figure out which one it could be. What was the other one that we were watching? Oh, the Frankenstein Chronicles. Wasn't that what it's called?
No, I haven't heard of that one.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, that's a good one. It's based off of Mary Shelley. Mary Shelley, right? Yeah. Oh, he's Frankenstein. So that's
Here we go. Okay, I'll check that one out. I think it was called The Shadow Hunters. That rings a bell. The life of a typical teen is when she learns that she's part of a demonry. Blood angels. That sounds familiar. Again, my memory is so shit, but
It's
it
all
could be that.
good. It's all good. Yeah. Well, that's the bad thing about Netflix. It differs with region too. So
Yeah, region, country,
yeah, it is
etc.
weird.
Yes,
Well,
I noticed that. I was in like LA twice last year, and there was a show called oh fuck, what's the really popular one about the lesbian girls? It's like LA something. LA. You don't know the one? Anyway, it's not available in Australia, and I totally binge watched like all 4 series while we were in
nice.
America. Again, can't tell you the title.
That's fine. I don't even think I would know too. So
It was good. If people know what I'm talking about, then yeah, it's a good watch.
Yeah. Well, if anybody listening knows what the hell the title is, please let us know so I can check this
Ah,
out.
it's the L word. There we go. The L word.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Ah, yeah. It's from like the 90s, so it's not recent, but yeah, I enjoyed it.
Well, I'll have to figure it out where we can watch it then.
How long have you been creating your gorgeous artworks?
I think I started the year before I got married in 2010. So yes, about 2009. So coming up to a decade now. Um, really got into it for probably the first 4 years, and then started like my online store and stuff like that. I didn't do it to sell my artwork. It was just a nice little bonus that after I had made a few, like when I say a few, maybe the first 5 or 10, I would contact some publishers or whatever, and say, hey, you want to put my artwork on posters, and got a few little licensing deals and stuff like that. There's still a few that are available in America. I think the company's called Black Ball Corp. They've got quite a few of my posters and put my artwork on random things like key rings, and there might be some T-shirts and stuff like that. But yeah, it's been a bit of a break because when I really focus on something, it's all consuming. So for 4 years, it was all about the vampire art. I started that through band photography, so I had a really good connection with a contact at Luna Park, which is one of like Sydney's one of the biggest, other than the Sydney Entertainment Centre, like one of the biggest venues for bands. So any kind of metal bands that I was interested in, I could just get passes to photograph, and that was fun. It just got a bit tiring. I mean, you got into the concert for free, so that was awesome. And meeting the bands and going backstage and all that, that was really cool. But then instead of photographing the bands, I'm like, well, why don't I try to photograph people and do some artwork? And did that for a few good years. And then we started As Angels Bleed, and the album probably took a good 2 years. And this was during the time, like, we were completely absorbed in watching, the Underworld series, Blade, heavily inspired by vampires. I'd probably weekly rewatch Dracula, any kind of horror movie, and we would pause it and we'd say, oh, lines, for lyrics, and not to like copy them, obviously, but like inspired, and write that down and then put a swing on it. Vaughn, who's my husband and also the guitarist / producer for As Angels Bleed, is very gifted with words. I'm more like the melody girl in the band, but the fusion of us is really beautiful. So when we write songs, we both play guitar, so we play riffs and stuff. And the lyrics, if you were to read the As Angels Bleed album, are heavily gothic. You can heavily see the inspiration of all things horror and dark, and it's got that old English kind of feel to it. Vaughn's very much into like Shakespeare and Chaucer and things like that. So there was an interesting way and rhyme to the lyrics where if you read them out, they read and scan like poetry, which is really nice. Yeah, when you fucking talk so much, you don't know what you're talking about anymore. I'm at that point.
Well, maybe I can help a little bit. Since you're
Good.
talking about the As Angel Bleeds inspiration too of what sort of lyrics you write. And speaking of which, and I did talk about this with you a long time ago too, but just
Yeah.
to float it out there, and I told Tessa about this, and so when I showed her the song, she kind of agreed with me, and that is what you kind of explained. So let me see, because you said you use certain influence to create the creativity of the song for As Angels Bleed, which you were mentioning,
Yeah.
and and then in which case with your song, and I believe it was either your first or maybe second single. It was I Drown,
Yeah.
and it, that song alone almost reminds me as if it's a tribute to Deftones' Fly's House of Change. So
Ah.
I The scent of blood through candlelight. From hunger's deep, you call my name. Your breath from dark and shadow breaks.
I don't know if you remember that chit chat a long time ago, but I did uh, mention to you something about did you kind of do that as a tribute, or was that like intended, or like how did I Drown find its melody, for lack of better wording here?
Fuck, man. I don't even know what day it is, let alone how I wrote a song 5 years ago, but I will try to answer your question. Um, I think Vaughn came up with the picking guitar riff, which was like the main basis of the song. Um, and the chorus was very simple. It could have been inspired by Deftones, thinking about it, because like I loved that song. I think it was featured. It was featured, yeah, in Queen of the Dam. So we're watching that a lot. I loved vocally how he was singing, with all the effects and stuff, specifically in that song. So I definitely would agree with you in the in not like someone that wouldn't really know that or hear me say that might not find that similarity, but if you know about it, it's definitely there. Even in the way that the bass plays is kind of similar. Yeah, and even coming down to the tempos, like I remember watching things like Spartacus, and just loving the soundtrack and being shit, what the fuck is that tempo? And I pull out my phone and we'd figure that out, and we were like, right, let's, Paul Spartacus would go into the studio and we'd open up our storm drums and find a cool fucking loop and then write music at a specific tempo being inspired by something else. So it came about pretty unconventionally. But yeah, if you listen to it like completely, it's completely vampiric, like from start to finish. I don't know if we'll repeat that, like the music we're working on now. I think people evolve, people change, and I still adore vampires, but I feel like I've moved on in regards to the type of music I want to make. Haven't quite figured that out. Like even just today, this is so random, but at the circus that I went to, they had this crazy music, and I'm like, this is kind of like I'm getting that same vibe again, like when I was listening to Spartacus, like back in 2013. or the theme track. Like, it's one of my favorite album soundtracks. What Jonathan Davis did for Queen of the Damned. Like, I love like every single song on there. It's fantastic. He's really good at capturing like a specific vibe, and dare I say, like the undead vibe in music. You know, it's the fusion of Middle Eastern instruments and harmonic minor and dissonance, and it took us a while to kind of figure out how to write music like that. You know, because Von comes from the generation of like Beatles and cock rock and Bon Jovi, and it's so major, it's so fucking happy, it's fine, but when you put that with me and my upbringing, like early teens, is like Offspring, Deftones are definitely in there. Who else? So my first concert was like Incubus, second was Silverchair, and third was probably Offspring. Like, this is back when I'm 16. So when I fell in love with Alice Cooper and like Ozzy Osbourne. So when you fuse that together, a lot of the early music that we were working on, we weren't really thinking about what we were creating. We were just writing music, and we fell in love with each other. We had this common interest in music, and we complemented each other's weaknesses really well, in regards to me being really prolific in creating melodies and him with lyrics. So it's not like I can't create lyrics, but I need to think a lot more. I need to dig really deep in my subconscious, and then out of nowhere I'll pull out this great fucking line and we'll end up using it. But Von just does it like constantly, where I'm like that with melody. So when we work together, it's really beautiful, and I miss being able to do that as much as in the past, because when kids come along, it's a lot harder. It's a lot fucking harder, and anyone tells you that it isn't, it's full of shit or doesn't have children. But that'll change as they get older. But yeah, I'm at that point again.
No, that's fine. But speaking of which, I'm just trying to remember. So yeah, so your first As Angels Bleed came out sometime in, I believe it was February 2013, I believe. And do you remember how long it actually took to create that first
Yeah,
record?
yeah, a long time before that. Honestly, I found lyrics recently in like our old studio, because we've just built a new massive big studio. It's beautiful. And we found songwriting books dated back to like 2008, 2009, with little bits of song lyrics. Sometimes they were joined onto other songs, but we might have like, just a verse lyric from Desire, and then it would go into something else. And we've just taken little bits of creativity that started to come out. Because what kind of happened, back to what I was saying a second ago, is we were both very 80s orientated. And then this kind of wave of new metal comes out. I might have been 17 and Evanescence comes out, and I'm like, just starting to get into goth. I'm looking at her and I'm like, I really fucking like what she's doing. But at the time, I'm in a different band with Von. It's like a punk rock band. I've got short hair, it's fluoro orange, I've got a mohawk. And I'm like, how do I be that? And, that doesn't happen overnight. That's part of my journey into discovering myself and like my love for the gothic aesthetic and stuff like that. But my love for vampires and horror movies and music was all part of me finding myself. And by that I mean, like, we started to watch, darker movies, so that inspired how I dress. It started to change how I speak, who I speak to, the people I hung out with, the nightclubs I went to, and obviously changed my image over probably over the course of a year. Everything just started getting darker and darker and darker, and then at some point your whole fucking wardrobe is black. Like, goth doesn't happen just overnight. It's like, it is a lifestyle, but you can't just like walk out of a shop and then bang, I'm a fucking goth. It's an attitude. And I think why a lot of what I'm doing works, it doesn't matter what I focus on, whether it be like music or designing a handbag for like a famous YouTuber, or doing artwork, there's a lot of conviction in there, because it's the real fucking deal. I live it. I love blood. I love horror movies. I love like nasty, dark, heavy music, you know, with dissidence, evil, satanic music. I was just listening to Ghost last night. I love their fusion of like almost they go with the Beatles, and then you know they paired this sinister like dissidence with kind of quirkiness, and at times like for someone that wouldn't really know about Satanism or things like that, it seems holy the way he's speaking. But it's obviously to like Lucifer and things like that. But it's really well done. I've really been enjoying them.
Yeah, the guy did an interview once, and he said something along the lines of every album he does, he tries to make the album fit the performances on stage. So like he wants to make everything better, bigger, and he wants to make it look like a what that word, like a theater, like you know what I mean, like
Mm.
that theater show. Like you're not
Yeah.
just going to see a live band, you're going to go see that live theater play in a way per se.
Yeah,
And
and you're seeing that with like in this moment, you know, look at their success when they dropped that kind of ballerina vibe that she had with the big puffy dresses, and I don't know if they're working with a different producer or whatever, but bam, they come out with like Sex Metal Barbie or whatever it is, and
oh
their
yeah,
album is slaying. You know, they've really found themselves over the last few albums, and they're doing that like overly theatrical thing. I'm like, fuck, that's you know, if there was more of a scene in Australia, that's where I would have liked to have taken as Angel's Bleed.
right. Yeah, it's always I find it so much better to see a band that tried to put more work into their performances than just just something of a white show. And like Tessa and I hope that one day we can probably see Ghost live, because I mean I hear nothing but great things about them live, and they seem like a really well down to earth people, especially if there's a an unexpected uh, death or something in their at their shows or something. Like I don't know if you heard, but there was one day where this fan dropped dead in the crowd, and they literally stopped the show just to give respect to the family of the person that passed away. And
Mm.
oh wow, like I couldn't imagine just going to a concert and then dropping dead. I mean, the only thing I could just think of is that, well, I guess I got to see my favorite band before I died. I guess. I mean, I don't even know how to really go about that, but I still feel bad for the family that had that loss. But at least a band like Ghost gave the respect of ending the show for that. I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how many bands would show that type of proper respect anyway nowadays. So hard to tell.
Yeah, I've been fortunate enough to see Ghost in Sydney, and I think I was with their previous singer. I'm not sure if they changed singers or can't confirm that, but it was they just brought out the EP. I think Ghosts was on it. When you have ghosts, or is it when you have God, you have everything? Go. I'm gonna go with Ghosts. Ghosts. Anyway, it was an EP just before there.
You, if you have Ghost, you have everything. That one.
That, yeah, yeah. And the new one's Annihilation, I believe. I was listening to that last night. Really liked that. Wasn't really digging the EP too much. But yeah, back to them live. Very impressive. They stayed in character a lot, which is good as well, because, you know, they all had their masks on, and it's kind of what you come to expect with them. But the way, his mannerisms, like he's got a lot of charisma. So even though he's hidden behind a mask, you can still tell it's the band, you know. And kind of need that. Like Alice Cooper had the right idea back in the 80s, you know. He's like one of my biggest idols. And then Marilyn Manson comes along and says, you know, Alice Cooper is one of his biggest idols. And then, you
Yep.
know, when they all fucking die, like I worry about these new kids that are growing up, you know, where like Justin Bieber is their influence. And It's like all the old rock stars are dying. You know?
Last year was a shitty year for deaf, that's for sure.
Yes. I mean, like, people don't appreciate songwriting and don't actually learn their instruments and just rely on YouTube for learning. You know, like, you need that one-on-one tuition, and it's an art form. If that's not taught, you know, the songs are going to get shittier and shittier. And we've already seen that over the last decade. Like, not in every single case, obviously, but like a lot of independent music and even music that's mainstream and booked to labels is just fucking rubbish, in my opinion.
The one thing that irritates me, to throw it out there, is I hate it when a band tries to do a cover of a popular song just to try to get big, and then that's the only thing people know about the band is that because they just did that one cover, and it's just like,
Yeah.
really, like, come on now.
It's wonderful when it introduces you to a band and then they've got a whole bunch of other great songs. So, say him, for example. I remember listening to that song, Wicked Game, and I didn't know Chris Isaak. Like, once I was told by Vaughn, he's like, you know, that's a cover. I'm like, is it? I'm like, oh yeah, fucking hell. I had to listen to the other one. I'm like, oh my god, it's so different. Like, I love when people cover it and it's different, and then you find and discover them, and then you're like, oh my god, this guy is doing, like, this band is awesome. I love it when it's like that. When it's the other way around, where it's just like the cover is their best song and the rest of their stuff shit is rubbish. That's a bit of a letdown. But speaking of covers, yeah, as Angels Bleed is working on many covers. There's a typo one that we've started. Von doesn't want me to say which one it is, but yeah, huge fan. I mean, my son is called Steel. There's a deep love for that band in my house, and in my children. So we're doing Typo Negative. There's a Placebo one that we've been working on. There's a Ghost BC one. What's the other one? There's probably two others that I'm not going to be able to remember right now, but yeah, we're doing some very interesting covers.
What are your thoughts about the evolution of women appearing in horror?
Evolution. I mean, I think it's always been there. Is it more prominent now? I mean, you've got like Sigourney Weaver and Aliens and the original Carrie. And then recently they remade Carrie, and then like one of my favorite, Underworld. You've got Celine, the leading role. It's probably more prominent, but it seems to be done in a different way now, where they're like strong women. You know, like coming back to Underworld, she's strong, but she is badass as well. Where, I don't know, if you go back to the 70s and 80s, they're kind of like weak little women, you know, that really want to be strong, but they can't because maybe there was a lot more male direction, you know? Because I'm reading about that just on the Women of Horror website right now, and there's a lot of women doing really good stuff, say in the last decade. So has there been an increase in it? Yeah, definitely.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a lot of increases. I mean, not only do we see female actors portraying a strong role now compared to, you were saying, that Weekland, who is always tripping over that invisible stick or whatever.
Yeah.
Now we got ladies that are behind the camera directing their own films. I mean, I think women in horror have changed and have grown throughout probably the last, I don't know, at least decade, at least, if not more. And it's great to see that change too, because I mean, I know a lot of people say, like, it does seem like anytime you see like the only female in a movie, like example Sigourney Weaver. Somebody was pointing out to me the other day where I look, like, some people are different. Like, I kind of see Sigourney Weaver as a like a mother figure, just because of the tragic stuff that she's gone through, especially with Aliens, where, you know, she hadn't seen her own daughter in so long that when she found Newt, it was almost like she wanted to try to retry as a mother figure in
Take
a
on
way.
the motherly
Yeah,
role.
take on the mother role, and that was like, defending Newt from the alien queen. Get away from her, you bitch, and all that other good lines and stuff, and then now, but just to continue, but yeah, you saw Sigourney Weaver with nothing but men surrounding her. But the interesting thing about that is not only was she the odd one out of the films, but she was the strongest because everybody else either died around her or
Yeah.
stuck. So it was a nice, interesting way to portray her character, especially back in the what was it, 1979, so almost the 1980s. And
Yeah. But of course, we had to see her nipples constantly, so that comes back to. But yeah, I agree. It's like a lot of women back, let's say 60s, 70s, 80s, were motherly, and like if they killed someone, it was an accident. Where now it's like, bitch, I'll fucking kill you. And they might. It's. I think psychologically, it could be more scaring or unnerving for a female to play that role. And I think that's kind of what the world has realized. Like, it's like, oh yeah, we've seen men do it for fucking centuries. That's normal. But when a woman does it, it's kind of heartless in a way. It's like, she can't do that. She's not allowed to do that. There'll be repercussions. So I think it plays on you on a better level.
I agree, and I mean, I talked with a female director on another podcast to help the guy out with questions, and her film like completely blew my mind. Like it exploded my mind because of the weird twists and turns that were going on in it. But that film was called Three, Eye for an Eye, and it is available on Amazon right now. So if anybody is interested, to look it up. But yeah, Three, like the number three, and then Eye for an Eye, and it's by Lou Simon. Very, very nice lady, and I would definitely recommend checking that film out for sure.
Yeah, cool. I'll do that.
And like that's the one thing that we don't see a lot nowadays is films that make us think more. It's more of like we just put it on just for the entertainment, I guess. Like maybe background noise or whatever. We're not getting that real psychological thriller scariness or something anymore. So I think with female directors and stuff, they're creating, I think, better shit. Well, not shit, but better stuff than
Yeah.
like what other people can do. Because it seems like with Hollywood nowadays, all they care about is remakes and reboots. And I mean, I know last year I already called 2019 the year of the reboot because there's so many reboots going on right now.
Yeah. And is that because all of the script writers, the old ones anyway, are dead? And Hollywood is so like exclusive; they're not letting anyone else in. I think that the world, like me buying new cameras and stuff like that we were speaking about before, the advancement in technology and maybe it's the ability for people that want to be like directors and filmmakers, like having that option for maybe 10 grand to buy a camera that is, professional quality and allows them to be on that level and actually have the support of the movie industry, where it was kind of an unobtainable dream if you wanted to be a filmmaker and you went in the clique, I guess, and you didn't have the money or your uncle wasn't, some famous director, how the fuck would you get in? Technology certainly changed that and, allowed the little person, as a lack of better way of saying that, to, if they've got some ideas, to actually like act on it, which is beautiful.
I completely agree, and technology is only going to get better as years go on. I mean, somebody can just not even have to worry about a video camera and just go out into the field with just their cell phone and make a movie off their iPhone or whatever. I mean, it's crazy. what you can do now. So
Yeah, there's 4K. I know. I just heard the other day they're talking about 8K, and it's like, where does it stop?
right.
12K.
I just had to replace my TV. Now you're telling me I need to replace it again?
Yeah, I know.
Need to upgrade my technological devices again.
Ugh.
So, Evelina, what does Women in Horror Month mean to you?
Well, firstly, that I'm a woman. But, I'm included, so that's good. That I love horror. It's fantastic. I just think it's a beautiful way to celebrate things that we probably should be celebrating all year round. Why do we need a month? Why can't it be Women in Horror Year? I mean, it's better that it's a month than a day. But I think a lot of women would agree that they're working on projects all year round. Um, so there needs to be more support, like yearly. But at least there's something like this now, where it's getting bigger and bigger each year, and we've got a big following behind it. And like from me doing a call with you guys, you are going to introduce me to new people that follow and like my artwork. And it's a bit of a fuck you to the corporations, and that are so they don't let anyone else in. How do you get in if you're not born into it? And that's what I like about these things, where if you're doing something and you're good at it, you might have a chance to get it out there. There's a place, like a community. If enough like-minded people get together, then they're going to start creating good stuff, and that's what it's all about, right?
That's yeah. I agree with you. I mean, it would be nice to see more things regarding the horror genre besides just Women in Horror Month and uh, Scaricons and stuff like that. We should have something to help really celebrate even the real struggles of even the different races of people. Because I mean, everybody knows throughout history that even the African American people have had their ups and downs, and now it seems like they're starting to what's the word I'm looking for?
They're finally getting out there and becoming more socially acceptable in movies and things like that.
and rather than being the first one to quote unquote die in a movie. So, yeah, it's like oh no, I think he actually lived throughout the movie until maybe the end. And I'm thinking of like Resident Evil Nemesis, I think.
Yeah.
Name. But
Yeah, wasn't he going to be a love interest to
yeah.
the
But like
lady?
yeah, but look at like the cult classic like Night of the Living Dead. I mean that lead character was an African American and he survived throughout the entire movie until the ending, all because of the hunting party, or yeah, the hunting party. I'm gonna just say.
Mm.
So it's everything has become better, I should say. I mean, we got the evolution of the females that are finally getting their light to shine. The African Americans are finally getting the respect they deserve and if and I mean some people are. I mean some still have their struggles, which unfortunately is the world nowadays, anyways. But
Yeah.
I mean it's just what it is, I guess. And you're either gonna get that boom, or you're just gonna not get that boom, and it's hard to tell because it all depends on who the hell we are, I guess. I mean I don't know. I mean
Which is stupid because everything is pretty much run by labels and status and shit nowadays. Society is so fucked up.
it's I think it's beyond fucked up, but yeah. um, but yeah. So Avelina, real quick before I give you the last two questions, is there anything that Tessa and I have not gotten a chance to ask you that you feel like you should that you would like to talk about, or?
Do you want to mention the stuff that I've been doing more recently, like the collaborations or YouTube channel or something like that?
You mentioned you design like purses and different type of clothing and wallets, because I think you mentioned something at the beginning about not doing so much artwork anymore, but instead you're doing the wallets and clothing now. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a bit of an organic change. The I'll probably get back into the artworks. It's more the time restraint, like the post production. As I mentioned, on one of an artwork can take hours upon hours, and I just don't have that time. So it's definitely on the back burner at the moment. Having two little kids it's been hard to find a balance, but I'm very lucky that I've got a supportive husband that wants me to succeed in all things I do, and occasionally get a babysitter. And as the kids get older, it's giving me that time to go back to what I love doing. We've recently moved from Sydney to the country. We're in Tamworth, which is actually, it's funny, the country music capital of Australia. And I'm not really into country music, but that's where we are. Yeah, we moved here for lifestyle reasons, and the real estate was like half the price of Sydney. Sydney is so dear now. But the part of moving here was for me to really focus on what I've been doing maybe the last 2 years, which is pushing my business on Instagram. Like, part of that will always be the artworks and stuff. Like, as I said, I might go back to it. It would definitely be harder for me to find models out here. How I used to find models, I think you touched on this or asked this previously. Back when I was doing it like 5, 6, 7 years ago, was on Model Mayhem. I don't even know if that is still around, and now I would probably search for girls on Instagram, but chances are they're probably not in Australia. So the last artwork that I did with Riri Phillips. So she's a girl from Instagram who kind of kickstarted the newest thing I've been doing, which is designing something with a girl's aesthetic in mind. So again, it always comes back to goth aesthetic with me, and I like handbags, what girl doesn't? And I'm like, fuck, why isn't there a bag with like spikes on the top and the bottom and a big metal pentagram? I'm like, fuck, I can do that. Same thing I said with the artworks. I'm like, oh, I got my Photoshop skills, let's just design it. But my business didn't have a huge profile, so just from a marketing point of view, I'm like, I should collaborate with some other people, like-minded people, not like random people, but people that share, love for my aesthetic and things like that. And some of them have been really successful. So I think 2018 was a pretty massive year for my business, in regards to, the profit, like how many sales we had and things like that. It got a lot of attention, and a lot of people found out about me. A lot of people probably know me more for that than the artwork. They might have to do a bit of searching. Like, my artwork is still up on my website. There's a button called artwork, but I'm pretty sure most people are going to the handbag or wallets, like you said, section. So I've been designing for a whole bunch of goth YouTubers, like Black Friday, like I said, Riri Phillips. I'm gonna fucking forget the names of the girls that I work with. Mahafsoon, she's a lovely, lovely girl. I would love to do a vampire artwork with her. She has custom fangs made by Father Sebastian, who's a pretty occultly renowned vampire fangsmith, who I had the pleasure to meet when I was in LA. Just a really, really nice guy that's really into the vampire scene. And back to Mahafsoon, long black hair. She's got that look. She looks like a fucking vampire. She looks like Akasha from Queen of the Damned. And she does belly dancing for Moonspell and things like that, a lot of metal bands. And we met up and I did a collaboration where I designed a handbag and wallet set for her, and that's been going really well. And I've got coffin wallets, so it's kind of been a fun way for me to get product ideas out of my head, but also bring them to life, because they cost a lot of money. Like, I'm always going for quality. And to give you an idea of the kind of money I'm talking about, like the last order I placed was for $50,000 US. That's the biggest order I've ever done. And like, that's me just running my business, just little old me with my Shopify store, and I do all the graphics. And before there was Shopify, I would like code the website and Dreamweaver, and this is not just Photoshop, I can do coding and video editing and all that stuff. It's very hands-on. But last year my business went up a level, and I've had to implement a lot of new systems and ask for help. And I've had an assistant help me when that $50,000 order came in, because it was 982 items that needed to be quality checked and apparently out the next day because everyone wanted their orders. And I'm like, dude, it's not going to happen. It was full on. It was stressful. It was fun, but it showed me not to order so much at one fucking go. That's for sure. But it seems like I'm getting a little bit more success with that. And one thing I said I would never do again since I've had kids is just put all of my money, which I would do before I had kids. You know, you save money. I would get an idea. I would manufacture it and bring it to life, and then it would just sit there. And it doesn't mean it's a shit product. It's just my profile was not elevated to a point where I could release something and it would sell. And I've still got like boxes and boxes of the Angels Bleed t-shirts and just random merchandise that unfortunately hasn't sold. And I said I would never do that again. So the good thing about the collaborations I'm doing now is they run on pre-orders. So if we get enough pre-orders, I get that money, and then they come to life. And you know, people have to wait a little bit longer, but the products are really unique, and it's been working. And we raised that money, and yeah, lucky I've got a big house. It was like 6 cartons, like fucking insane. It was like 75 boxes that we had to go through. So that's been fun.
Wow. Yeah, I'm looking at some of the wallet right now. Even like I see the one where you even made one for us men, where we got a nice Black Friday wallet one where,
Yeah.
and we got a really nice Def Candy oversized one, which it looked like we can choose between pink, green, and black, which I'm
And
assuming
blood red.
yeah, which is the inside of the coffin, the Def Candy, I should say.
Yeah, yes, the outside's faux leather. It's got a crescent moon on one side and death printed on the other side. It's simple. That was created for Death Candy. Her aesthetic is like completely neo goth, so it's simple, it's elegant. It's a real statement piece. It's probably my second to the one I mentioned with the spikes on the bottom and the top, and the red metal inverted pentagram on the front, like that bag. That's badass. It's probably my favorite thing I've designed, but second would be the coffin. It's just heaps practical. Like there's a lot of wallets out there by different brands and stuff, and I saw a lot of them when I was in LA, but they're very thin. They're very cheap. They're like $20. These are not cheap products. They'll last, and they're very practical. You know, they're not made by some random designer that isn't going to use them themselves. There's a lot of thought and love gone into what I release, and I'm enjoying that. I don't enjoy the time in between the designing in Photoshop and the big ass wait to get the pre-orders and the manufacturing started and all the headaches that comes with the problems, and I'm not enjoying that. But it's just, you know, part of it. At some point I'd like the business to get big enough where I can have someone else deal with that, but yeah, currently it's me. And also been pushing my YouTube channel, and yeah, enjoying that because I think I've got a bit of an unusual life. I've got a really nice gothic home and been having a lot of fun decorating it since we've moved out here. And yeah, I've been fortunate enough to decorate it pretty epically, and I have to do my house tour. I've get so many requests to do that, so yeah, I'll do that pretty soon. I seem to be enjoying that more.
Well, I know you got a lot of very gothic looking furniture from that one company, which is drawing a blank in my name right now, but
Yeah, haunt furniture.
yes, and I just can't believe some of the details that from what I've seen, whether it's from like your Instagram stories or some of your photos, but it looked like that Haunt Furniture company does a really good job with the detail and making it look phenomenal and fantastic looking. And it kind of goes back to like with you with designing the handbags or the wallets, which makes me wonder how. So, what is the process that you got to go through when designing the handbag? Like, do you draw it out? Do you like kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Like, you know, like do you draw it out or do you have to do something else? I'm trying to think of a word now.
Yeah, no drawing, no manual drawing. Anyway, even with my WiHM tablet, like I have one of those, the Intuos tablet, but that's more for digital. Like if I need to draw on top of a photo, I'll use that. But for designing, I'm just in Photoshop. I'll like say for the coffin, for example, I'll just draw up a coffin shape and everything on separate layers and fuck around with different photos. I normally see it in my head. By the time I'm at the point where I'm mocking up the design's already in my head. So that's where coming back to being really fluent in Photoshop works really well, because it's like, okay, I've got something in my head now, I just need to put it into like the computer and write up all the specs so people, my company, can actually make the samples. And I found out if I'm not terribly specific, they'll fuck it up. So I literally give them every single fucking detail down to the width, the type of zipper, the teeth, the material of they will fuck it up in ways you will not imagine. And it is heartbreaking, especially when each sample can cost like 400 US.
Ooh.
And then they'll argue with you and go, oh, you didn't state that. I'm like, bitch, you missed this. Remake it. I'm not paying no 400 US. So it's very expensive. I might need to find another company because they are very dear. Their quality has been terrific, but yeah, it's the coming back to the designing. That's the fun part. Like, and kind of relating it back to the artworks as well. I enjoyed the photo shoot. I enjoyed taking the original image and then fucking and putting like fucking with it. I mean, not fucking it. I'm putting it. Just to clarify, I did not do that before. Although maybe I'd sell more. Maybe I should. X-rated podcast. It's funny because Bob just said I should do something like that the other day because I'd sell more stuff, and there it is now. It's out there for the world. We should do a poll. Should Avelina do this? Yeah, the thing I love is the designing. So I'd ultimately like to start designing for some other companies this year, because I think I've got enough ideas. I don't want to manufacture everything, you know. Like I said, I can't create every little idea that pops into my head. So how I go about it for a specific girl, it's quite original. What I'm doing is because I'm not just creating a random bag and hoping it will fit this girl's aesthetic, because it's collaboration with a person. So I am trying to design an item that reflects their aesthetic. So it's quite unique. I don't know if that's really ever been done before at all, or for like, of course things have been inspired for, but this goes down to like the girl's favorite color schemes. So say for the Black Friday handbag, she threw black and red at me. She said she loves spikes. She wants a sigil of Lucifer on there. She also loves velvet and like faux leather. And so she gives me these random things that mean something to her that she likes, and then I have to somehow pop that into an item that I think people are going to use, and it's practical. That's the part that I enjoy, and I find I do that quite quickly. And then the annoying part is like, okay, I've designed it, now I've got to get the proper specs and the measurements, and it's really hardcore. And then the samples start, and when they get it right, that's a lot of fun, because it's like being sent. It's like seeing a pressed version of your album, you know. It's like this thing you've worked and works towards. But relating it back to music, it's, I think why I like it now is because it's so much quicker. Like I can design a handbag, the specs take the long part. They have the sample made. I take some photos of the motherfucker and then I put it on my website and pre-order start. That's it. But for an album, it's like, and now with kids and not having as much free time, it's years. I was just saying to Vaughn, I don't think we will ever, in the foreseeable future, have enough material to release like an entire album. But we're close to finishing songs off. So he's like, well, let's just release one at a time, and then maybe once 10 songs are out, we'll just join it together, and there you go, there's an album. That might be how we do it, you know, because that suits our lifestyle at the moment. But yeah, it's definitely the part that I love the most, just creating new items. Hello. You want to go in my bed?
Yeah.
Okay. That's fine. Bye. Yes.
Bye.
Yeah. It's London. He came in to ask if he could go on my bed. That's so cute.
Aw.
Oh. He said to me yesterday, he's like, Mummy, why do we have so many coffins in my room? I said, I don't have that many. And then he said, yes, you do. Look, you've got one, two. And then he took me around my bedroom and counted 5 coffins. I'm like, oh, fuck. Yeah, okay.
Tessa, is there anything that you wanted to ask Avelina about the handbag or the wallet? Because I know you had an eye on a couple of them. So, anything you want to ask about her work?
One of my favorites of hers that she actually made is the death candy ones. I actually really like those. Those are really pretty. How did you come up with the idea for it?
Let me think back to my conversations with Maria. So Death Candy, her aesthetic is very new goth, not like if you know what new goth is, you know how it differs to say traditional goth or the romantic kind of goth. So it's a very, I'd say, modern, just like metal. There's metal and new metal. Anyway, she's new goth, and she threw a few things at me. She wanted like something inspired by her name on Instagram, which is Death Candy. She said she loved lunar moons. I wanted to do a coffin wallet, so because I had like ideas for that, so I said to her, "Well, how about a coffin-shaped wallet?" And then just we started with hot pink because at the time her hair was hot pink, and that was kind of her thing. So we're like, okay, let's fuse death, hot pink, black, lunar mirrors, coffin-shaped wallet, practicality, and then I'm like, okay, well, what can I do with that? We had a call, so I normally do a Skype call. And just chat with them and just I kind of suss them out. And then, I don't know, I sleep and then I wake up and the design's in my head. Like I said before, I go into Photoshop. It's kind of in the ones that have been the cleanest or of designs or ones that have come to be the most successful. They're kind of already in my head, so I haven't really done that much other than bring it to life in Photoshop. And songwriting is the same. We can both wake up and have melodies or lyrics in our head, or the songwriting just actually flows and comes together really quickly. I found they're the ones that work. Like Desire, for example, that just came together. One had the riff, the melody, bam, it just like it wrote itself. So I've got a few key kind of inspirational ideas, and then the rest is I don't know, sometimes I feel like it comes from another place, man. It's just like it comes so quickly. I'm like, sometimes I just feel like I'm the conduit for the I don't know, the outer space like alien that I'm connected to that's spewing out all this, like it's so quick. Sometimes I really look back, I'm like, did I do that? I can show you the fucking Photoshop file. I did do that. But in regards to the actual process, sometimes I don't actually know how to put that into words because it's so quick.
I think we got the word. Everybody, this is the reveal. Avelina is a vampire. Okay, we'll just put it down. She's got that quick thinking, that quick movement. She's just like, got it, boom, done. Okay.
That must be it. Yeah. I'm drawing, and that's the higher power is I'm drawing knowledge from the old ones.
That's right. The ancient ones, yes. Or
Mm-hmm.
that's right. And it's great to see like that you're creating these well designed items really because I mean like you said you've seen some handbag and wallet that are like $20 and they're cheap as hell and they fall apart probably within a week of having it. So but at least with you're making sure the material is right, it's done right, and if not, well then I guess there's gonna be a problem. But I mean it's good that you care about the quality and even though it seems expensive, but it's worth it in the end, really.
Yeah, and it's hard because it is my own name as well. Like my business is my name. So if someone emails me and says, they're not happy, that's because of something I've done. So I go out of my way to avoid that. And it does happen. Shit happens. Quality checking gets missed, and you get angry customers. And by the time I'm done with them, they're fucking thanking me. I don't know how that happens. but it happens a lot. They email me, they're angry, I fix it, I go out of my way to fix it, and then they're thanking me, which is lovely, you know. Like I rather have friends than enemies, and I don't think it takes much other than the time to listen to your customers and listen to what they're saying. And I think when you go to really big companies, that's sometimes lost in, you know, the stack of employees, and you know, there's a real personal touch with what I'm doing, with every design, and how I speak with my customers and things like that. And I think that must be coming out because there's a lot of really lovely reviews and stuff, and people doing a lot of like unboxings on YouTube, and I'm amazed and taken aback by how like warmly these people speak of me. So it's nice.
Hey, I'd rather have friends than enemies myself, and
Yeah.
when it comes to customer service, you wanna take every angry person serious anyway, because you know you want them to come back, and in order to make them to come back is to fix the issue. And even though it may not be your fault all the time, like you said, maybe an item was missed seen for this quality check, and you know that just happens though sometimes. Sometimes when you check so many, it's like, okay, the rest should be fine, but in real you get that one that should
Yeah.
have been checked. So
And look,
yeah.
I've just fucked shit up too. Like the other day, I sent someone just the wrong shirt.
Oh crap.
And there was no excuse. My system wasn't there. They ordered an As Angels Bleed shirt, and I legit just sent them the wrong fucking thing. And well, I had no words. I'm like, look, human error. I just fucked up. I'll send you the other one. I'll send you the right one. You'll get two. Yay. But, you know, shit happens.
Exactly. And you already answered one of the questions while we were just talking about like your handbags and stuff like that. But anyway, for your last question, Avelina, for that I have anyway. Let me just make sure with Tessa. Tessa, do you have anything else before I give this last question to her? No?
Not that I can think of, no.
Okay. So, Avelina, for your last question for us is, what can we see from you in 2019?
Well, lots of music, I hope. I'm not going to say soon, I'm going to say the end of 2019, but there's a lot of creativity, a lot of time being spent more by my husband at the moment, but he has got so many songs in the works. Oh, another one I forgot to mention was a cover of Sisters of Mercy, This Corrosion, so that actually might be the first to come out, as I have been speaking about that for quite some time. We did the vocals, the final lead vocals, so that will probably be the first thing musically. In regards to collaborations, I've got one coming up with the insanely beautiful, another girl I would love to shoot as a vampire, but the fetish model, I don't know how to summarize her, but Danny Devine, if you may have heard of her, I have to get my ass in gear and design her a handbag, so we are doing collaboration. I've got another lovely friend on Instagram. Her username is Christiana. I think it's one and only. She's a gorgeous gothic princess. Again, another girl I would love to shoot if they weren't so far away. But I'm designing some compact mirrors, and once Black Friday returns from her little hiatus, we're going to have a Skype call and just figure out what's next for us. The talks there were a pair of sunglasses that I have in my head that I've designed for her, which is a very different product for me. Another compact mirror, like really high end. It sounds like a little thing, but you need, girls, you know what I fucking mean. You need a really aesthetically pleasing, practical, high quality stainless steel glass mirror to fix your makeup. So I don't want to share too many ideas because I've had some people rip me off. I mean, that's going to happen. It happens to creative people. And you know you're doing a good job when people start to steal your shit. And the older I get, rather than it frustrating the fuck out of me, I take it as a compliment. I'm like, okay, well, if they're stealing what I'm doing, I must be doing something good. So I'm just going to keep doing it. So yeah, a lot of new products. Hopefully the return to music. Not sure if there'll be a return to art, but I'll push in my IG profile. I'm trying to push more fashion orientated, like gothic fashion. So you'll start to see nearly every second post is going to be a full body fashion shoot, mainly due to the fact, Paul, that I have so much clothing and like Bon's like, why the fuck do you buy so much clothing? You don't go out that much. I'm you know, I like staying at home. I'm a hermit. So this gives me a reason to show the world what I have. And I adore gothic fashion. I like getting dolled up, and it's kind of giving me life at the moment. It's a purpose. So there'll be a push for that, you know, hopefully a big noticeable difference in the type of photography I do due to the you know, courses that I'm doing, and I've just upgraded everything. I'm going to 4K for my videos. So yeah, 2009 is going to be good. I'm feeling positive.
That's good. I did get one newsletter of yours where you had this interesting top called the Black Widow top. You had
Yeah.
another one called the True Death top. I don't know if you
Mhm.
actually saw them, babe.
Yeah, I've seen her clothing.
The new ones right here. You saw like this one
Yeah,
and that one.
I actually really like those.
Yeah, they're really nice and very what's that word I'm looking for? Very
Revealing,
revealing. Yes, thank you. But
accentuating.
yeah, it's very
Accentuate the
looking.
breasts.
What's the word I'm looking for?
Do do do.
It accentuates the sexy.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I'm all about that. I'm all about that. Like I said, I've been designing some clothing, but it's a bit of a headache with clothing. You get sizings, and then do you do plus size? And if you do plus size, you've got to cover like so many sizes, and it's I'm too small to do that. So I tried with a few years ago with the products that you mentioned, and a few of them are still available on my website. I wouldn't say I'm known for clothing at the moment, but people kind of like accidentally find it and then are pleasantly surprised. So you know that's good. But I definitely I've been designing recently for some other companies, and hopefully yeah that will come into for fruition this year, and you know they'll continue having me on as a designer, and I think that's more suited to me right now. Like I that's the part I love. So if I can whip out some designs and then hand it off to someone else to do the manufacturing and stuff like that, that's a dream. So definitely be trying to push that this year, and got some video work coming up for Killstar. Going to be collaborating with them, so that's really exciting. So yeah, a lot of new things planned.
It already seems like it's going to be a busy year for you. And on that note, too, Avelina, is feel free to plug anything like your website and where people can find you to keep up to date or whatever you would like to plug.
Okay. All right, so my website, if you want to check out what I've been up to, is www.avelinademoray.com. And you can also find me on Instagram under the same username. So that's spelled AVELINADEMORAY. And if you're into anything dark and spooky, pretty sure you'll find something that you like. You see I put my sex voice on there? Was that too much? It got kind of croaky and sexy there. Call me now.
No, you just go with it.
Just go
Alright.
You just go with what comes naturally.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, thank you again, Avelina, for your time. And
Yeah, it was definitely a pleasure to finally get to speak with you.
Yes, it's
You're welcome, guys.
pleasure.
Thank you.
And I'll throw it out there too. But if you ever would like to come on and talk horror with us ever again, you're more than welcome to come on anytime you'd like.
Oh, thank you. It'd be a pleasure. And let me know when the podcast is up, and I'll post it in a newsletter as well. And yeah, mention it on Instagram, Facebook, wherever I can. Let people have a listen. I'll do that for you guys as well.
Yeah, and we will help you out too with anything that you would like us to share, whether it be your wallets, handbags, or anything sexy from you posted or whatever. We'll
that'd be
help
awesome.
you out as well.
Yeah. Keep in touch, and I can let you know when the new collabs are coming out and stuff like that. And yeah, that'll be a big help.
Yeah, definitely. And on that note too, thank you guys so much for listening to this amazing lady's interview, even though it might seem a little bit parental advisory, but You know what? Who fucking cares?
This is
So-
not a PG-13 podcast.
no. So, PG-13 person, get the fuck out.
Yeah, I think you should start with that.
Yeah. But once again, thank you guys again for listening. And as always, everybody, stay scary.